On May 1, 2001, a 24-year-old government intern named Chandra Levy vanished from Washington, D.C. At first, it seemed like a missing person case, but within weeks, investigators discovered that Chandra had been involved in a secret relationship with a powerful congressman. Suddenly, the case became national news. Television networks covered it every day. Newspapers published new stories almost constantly. Rumors spread across the country. People wanted answers. What happened to Chandra Levy? Was her disappearance connected to her relationship with a politician? Was she the victim of a random attack? Or was someone hiding the truth? More than 2 decades later, many people still debate what really happened. This is the disappearance of Chandra Levy. One question is, who was Chandra Levy? Before she became the subject of a national mystery, Chandra Levy was a young woman with a bright future. She was born in Ohio, but grew up in Modesto, California. Friends described her as intelligent, responsible, and ambitious. She worked hard in school and eventually earned a place at the University of Southern California. There, she studied public administration and began preparing for a career in government. In 2001, she moved to Washington, D.C., to complete an internship with the Bureau of Prisons. The internship was an important opportunity. It allowed her to gain experience inside the federal government and build connections that could help her future career. Everything seemed to be going well. Her internship was nearly finished. She was preparing to return to California, and according to the people who knew her, she appeared excited about the future. Nobody could have imagined that she was only days away from disappearing. The last known day of her, May 1, 2001. This was the last day investigators could confidently place Chandra alive. Records later showed that she spent part of the day using her computer. She checked emails. She searched the internet. One search would later become extremely important. She looked up directions to Rock Creek Park. Rock Creek Park is a large wooded area located in Washington, D.C. It contains hiking trails, wooded paths, and isolated sections far from busy roads. At the time, the search seemed ordinary. People search for parks every day. But after Chandra disappeared, investigators began wondering whether she had planned to visit the area. If she did, that decision may have changed everything. Throughout the day, Chandra also made phone calls. Among them was communication linked to Gary Condit. Investigators later determined that this was among the last known activity connected to her. Then the trail ended. No more confirmed phone calls. No more emails. No confirmed sightings. Nothing. It was as though Chandra had simply vanished. In the days that followed, family members noticed something unusual. Chandra was not responding. Phone calls went unanswered. Messages were not returned. At first, they assumed she might be busy. Adults sometimes go a few days without checking in. But as more time passed, concern turned into alarm. This behavior was not normal for Chandra. She regularly communicated with family. She did not simply disappear without explanation. The silence became impossible to ignore. Eventually, her family contacted authorities. A missing person investigation began. When investigators examined Chandra's apartment, they discovered something troubling. Many of her personal belongings remained inside. Her identification, her clothing, personal possessions, items people usually take when leaving for an extended period. Nothing suggested she had packed up and moved away. Nothing suggested she planned to disappear voluntarily. Instead, the apartment created the impression that she had expected to return, but she never did. This finding increased investigators' concerns. When investigators examined Chandra's apartment, they discovered something troubling. Many of her personal belongings remained inside. Her identification, her clothing, personal possessions, items people usually take when leaving for an extended period. Nothing suggested she had packed up and moved away. Nothing suggested she planned to disappear voluntarily. Instead, the apartment created the impression that she had expected to return, but she never did. This finding increased investigators' concerns. Detectives began reviewing every part of Chandra's life. They examined her phone records, her computer activity, her relationships, her recent movements. As they worked through the evidence, they uncovered her relationship with Congressman Gary Condit. The discovery immediately changed the direction of the investigation. Once reporters learned about the relationship, the story exploded into national headlines. Suddenly, the disappearance was no longer just a missing person case. It became a political scandal. News organizations followed every development. Television crews camped outside buildings. Reporters chased interviews. Every new rumor became a headline. The pressure on investigators became enormous. People wanted answers, and many wanted those answers immediately. As public attention intensified, Gary Condit found himself under intense scrutiny. People wanted to know the nature of his relationship with Chandra. They wanted to know when they had last spoken, and they wanted to know whether he knew anything about her disappearance. Investigators interviewed him. They reviewed records. They searched for evidence linking him to a crime. Despite widespread suspicion, investigators were unable to find evidence proving that Condit harmed Chandra. That did not stop speculation. For months, many people believed he must somehow be involved. The media coverage was relentless. Every appearance he made generated headlines. Every statement was analyzed. His political career suffered enormous damage. But while the public focused on Gary Condit, investigators continued searching for evidence. And for more than a year, they found very little. Months passed. Search teams followed leads. Tips poured in from across the country. Many turned out to be false. Others led nowhere. The case seemed stuck. Without a body, investigators could not determine exactly what had happened. Without a crime scene, evidence was limited. Without witnesses, there were few reliable clues. For Chandra's family, the uncertainty was devastating. Every day brought hope. Every day brought fear. And every day ended without answers. Then, in May 2002, everything changed. More than a year after Chandra disappeared, a man walking through Rock Creek Park made a discovery. Human remains were found in a remote section of the park. Authorities quickly began an investigation. Soon, forensic testing confirmed what many feared. The remains belonged to Chandra Levy. For her family, the discovery ended one painful chapter, but it also began another. Now investigators knew she was dead. The challenge was determining how she died and who was responsible. Unfortunately, the passage of time had created problems. The remains had been exposed to the environment for more than a year. Important evidence may have been lost. Investigators struggled to determine exactly what happened. The cause of death could not be established with certainty. Even so, detectives continued pursuing leads. Eventually, their attention shifted toward a new suspect. Years after Chandra's disappearance, investigators focused on a man named Ingmar Gwandike. Gwandike had a history of attacking women in Rock Creek Park. Several women had reported being assaulted by him around the same period. This immediately caught investigators' attention. If Chandra had visited the park alone, she may have crossed paths with someone dangerous. Prosecutors developed a theory. They believed Gwandike encountered Chandra in the park and attacked her. The theory fit some of the available evidence. It also offered an explanation that did not involve political conspiracy. Eventually, Gwandike was charged. The case moved toward trial. During the trial, prosecutors argued that Gwandike was responsible for Chandra's death. Witness testimony played a major role. The prosecution presented evidence they believed connected him to the crime. The defense challenged those claims. They argued that the evidence was weak. They questioned witness credibility. and they argued that investigators lacked direct proof. Despite those arguments, Gwandik was convicted. For many people, the conviction appeared to bring closure. After years of uncertainty, there finally seemed to be an answer. But the story was not over.